Hi everyone, it was about time that I did another recipe video. So cold here in Melbourne, we're a little bit under the weather, so I thought I would do a slow cooker recipe. I love slow cooker recipes because they're fast and easy and you don't have to think about them. So perfect for when we hit the winter months and we're not really motivated. So people are always asking me if you've got any recipes, and I rarely use a recipe for my slow cooker. I just kind of like to think about what kind of meat I want and what kind of base. Do I want a creamy base or a tomato base? And then I work from there on flavours. So today I've got an amazing kind of bit of chuck steak from the Butcher's Club at Southland. So I popped in there and had a really great discussion about what they had available and what would work, and kind of I was very indecisive. The people there were fantastic. If you guys are watching, say hi below. I gave them my Facebook page, so we'll see if they pop up. So as you can see, I'm just cutting up the meat with my scissors. So when you slow cook, you have the option of browning off the meat first in a pan, which is what I'm going to do here. The benefit of browning your meat is you kind of trap all the juice and moisture into the meat, whereas if you just throw it in as is, you'll lose a bit of that into the liquid. So not a biggie. I normally don't brown the meat. I just love using this pan, and I felt like doing it today. So it's just a brief visit to the pan just to seal it off, and then we'll put it into our slow cooker. But if you're doing this in the morning before work, you might just want to put it straight into your slow cooker. Because I don't really like I never used to like the smell of cooking meat kind of sticking to my clothes right before I went to work. So we're just going to do this really quickly. So you can see how easy it was chopping it up with the scissors. I tend to not use a knife for meat. Just grab out the scissors and just brown this off. So a really hot pan, throw it in there. I got chuck steak. It was about $11 a kilo. So I got, I think I paid $14 altogether, which was really good. I think this meal will probably do the three of us twice. It's good, doesn't take very long, almost done. And that meat is all sealed off. So that was really, really quick. So now I'm going to move it across to my slow cooker. I'm just going to throw it in. So if you're starting your slow cooker at the start of the day before you go to work, and you're not browning the meat, you'll have to use the auto setting. So the auto setting on your slow cooker goes to high heat to start with, so it kind of kills all the bacteria, which is really good, and then drops down to low for the day. So if you're looking at leaving it on all day, make sure you put it onto that low, that auto setting. Or if you're going to be home, just the low setting. If you're like me, what is it, almost 2 o'clock, it might be right on 2. I need this done in the next like 4 or 5 hours, so I am going to use the high setting. Don't judge my messy living room behind me. We've really not been home or paying attention all week. So I'm going to stick it onto high now, just while I'm doing this. So I've got my meat in here. So I think I do lots of things with the stuff that I cook. I turn it into pies. So whatever you cook in here can go into a pie. So get some, puff pastry from Aldi's, got a really good cheap dairy-free one. Into a pie base, and then you can just chuck this in and cook it in the oven after it's all cooked. Today I forgot to get the pastry. I was having enough coffee. I've only got decaf left. So I will probably turn it into like a ragu, so break the meat up a bit once it's cooked, and run it through some pasta. But what I really want is a nice kind of hearty dish. I remember when I first started making casseroles, just kind of feeling like they had no flavour, and I needed something afterwards to kind of really help me hit the spot. So I really like to make sure mine have got lots and lots of flavour in them. And one way that I do that is with red wine. So if you're don't drink or don't want to put any red wine in, you can use a beef stock. Oxo is a good one Doesn't have any dairy in it for those that are dairy free. It does have yeast extract though, so Jace didn't used to be able to have it. So I'm not going to use too much. I just like when red wine really reduces down how nice and thick it can be like a jus. So I'm just going to use a little bit, probably like half a cup in there. And I really play this by ear. I've got some vegetables as well. So I grabbed what was in the fridge. So I've got some celery, a carrot, some mushrooms, onion, bit of garlic. I just broke it up. I got the knife and I went to squash. I haven't got time to peel garlic and chop it and do whatever. And a tomato here. I was out looking at my tomato plants, which are mostly green. I found a caterpillar going through it. And so I cut that half off and I'm going to chuck the rest in here. So I've also got a bay leaf. So for those of you who see bay leaves on recipes but kind of never really know what it is, you can buy them dried. So that's a dry bay leaf. It comes in a packet, fairly cheap, beautifully smelling. They add heaps of flavour to dishes. So you just put it in as is. You don't need to break it up. And then you can fish it out before you serve, so no one ends up biting it. I always leave it in. Somehow my husband gets it. So I've got some rosemary as well. Some fresh rosemary. I just grabbed it off the garden. If you don't have fresh rosemary, it's really easy to grow, but if you don't have any fresh, get some dried. But remember, if it's dried, it's actually more concentrated, so you don't need to use as much. So just a sprinkle, a tablespoon over the top. I'm just picking out the hairs. We've got golden retrievers in the backyard, and they molt all the time, so I'm always finding when I've got fresh herbs that there's dog hair stuck to it. But I guess they'll cook in here as well. So just increasing our immunity. So I just chopped up what was in the fridge. You could use really anything. I've got in there a zucchini, wouldn't go astray in here. I like mushrooms at this time of year, a little bit of vitamin D, because I'm not outside as much. And I've thrown those in. What else? Tin of dust tomatoes. If you don't want to have tomatoes, if you want something that's a bit more low acid, low histamine, you could try some coconut milk. Same one here. Yeah, it's so hard to get out, isn't it? I try to kind of burrow through the bush and get the rosemary from the middle. So, my cat thinks I'm opening tomatoes. You don't like it. Oh, she's all dirty as well. So you can use 1 or 2 tins. If I was starting this at the start of the day, I'd put a little bit more liquid in. Not too much though, because it still cooks fairly slowly. Where's my spoon? I really didn't prepare this video. I just kind of thought I would just grab things as they came along. So that red wine will add a real depth to the flavour. If you've got any stock, pop it in. I make my own stock, so I've got some here, some vegetables paste that I make at home. I just get a whole lot of vegetables, whole lot of herbs. I heat and blitz them in my Thermomix, but I used to do it in a pot on the stove and then use like one of those hand mixers to mix it all up, and it just turns to a paste. If you've got lots of salt in it, it stays in the fridge for longer. If it doesn't have much salt, you can just chuck it in the freezer, which I do as well. Because Maddie is so little, we don't like to use too much salt with her. So those of you that watched last week would have seen I put a post up about making my own chicken stock. So I've got some here. You can freeze it. And I'm just going to pour some of that in as well. So chicken stock can be fantastic addition. If you've done a nice long cook on it, it'll have a high calcium as well, lots of minerals. So I haven't put too much in there. I think there's a tendency with a lot of people to try it, because especially if you leave it, to put too much liquid into your slow cooker. What you really want is just a little bit, but you still want everything poking out the top so that it reduces down. And if you don't get that nice reduction, sometimes I'll put it back in that pan that I used and really get some heat into it going before I use it. So everything will be nice and soft, but you want to reduce that liquid down. So as you can see, I've got the, let me just see if I can move, there we go, move the writing. So we've got our meat, which has been browned off. We've got garlic, onion, celery, carrots, a little bit of tomato, rosemary, a bay leaf, some veggie stock, tomatoes, red wine. Give it a smell. Does it need anything else? I'm gonna look at my spice cupboard. So let me see if I can flick this around. So you're going to kind of see the inner workings of my awful kitchen here. So it's packed with stuff. So this is all of my herbs and spices. So I keep them in big containers so they're easy to get out. And this is the one I want, Moroccan souk spice, I think. Yes, it's kind of, I usually put this one on, but maybe I'm not going to today. What can I put on? A little bit of onion spice. Yeah, I'm going to put a little bit of onion powder in there. I try to stick, if I've got the rosemary, I'll try to stick in that vein. I won't put anything sweet in. Maybe a bit of salt and pepper, I think. Yeah, I don't think sage. That's my rosemary. You can tell I really didn't prepare for this video today. Oregano, let me smell it. Yeah, a little bit of oregano. That'll go perfectly. So I like a lot of flavour. I don't like to sit there going, you know, this is disgusting. I want something that the sauce is going to have heaps of flavour when I mix it all through. Bit of salt and pepper. It's better to spice your food. I don't know what I've done with pepper. It's better to spice your food when you're cooking it rather than at the table. You end up using less, and the spices, salt and pepper help to develop the flavour of your food. So if you do it while you're cooking, you won't need as much, which is good if you're adding salt, because we don't want to, those of us with kids don't want to increase the salt in their diets. I don't know where my pepper's gone. We had it out the other day. I reckon it might have gone back. There it is. Yeah. So if you're going to invest in your kitchen, herbs and spices are your best way of cutting down extra calories. A bit of extra pepper. Jace likes it spicy, so hot pepper. So it's the best way that you can cut down on, you know, sugar and things from herbs and spices, by using herbs and spices. So this is, I think, all I'm going to do. So I'm going to cook it on high for the next few hours, and then the meat should be nice and tender. It should come apart and kind of break down. And then I'm just going to make some pasta and stir it through. If you can't eat pasta, there's some really cool things at the supermarket. I wonder if I've got any. Let me just check. Here we go. I grabbed some. I meant to do a review of it. So like pulse pasta. So San Remo do, you know, pulse pasta, lentil pasta, chickpea pasta, all that kind of stuff. Which is, this one's got like pea flour, chickpea flour, bean flour, lentil flour, and that's it. So if you're, you know, you can go gluten free or something like that. These are a great option. And so you're not kind of limited, you can still, you know, have things. So that is it. So you don't need a recipe, just add in lots of flavours. You know, if I was doing chicken, I might do sage and onion with maybe a bit of coconut milk in there, because we're dairy free. Otherwise I might use cream or something like that. But yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching. Let me know what your favourite combinations are for casseroles down below, and we'll see you next time.